This week on the Game Marks podcast, we play WCW Nitro for the Sony PlayStation. We do a deep dive into this 1998 THQ game and decide if we will play it forever or future endeavor.
You're fired!
Plug in and put on those nostalgia goggles because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now. And now, the Game Marks.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast. My name is George Feis.
And I'm the man they call Johnny Clash, and today we are throwing it back and we are playing WCW Nitro for the Sony PlayStation.
And as always, guys, we love to hear from you, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen, and always join in on the conversation on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. Now, Johnny, I am the man of 1,001 nicknames, and this week, I believe you had a hand in coming up with this week's nickname because
oh boy, you finally chose one that I gave you, huh?
Because
get the censor button ready.
I am the Stormtrooper this week because my shot in most first person shooters lately has been garbage. I am working on that. We're getting it back up to where it deserves to be because that is my bread and butter. It's where I used to spend all of my time. So we're working on that. But
we're going to 1v1 in Rust.
Wow. Last week, what an absolute game changer, kind of flipping the script a little bit from what we usually do, as we did a gaming career retrospective of the dead man, The Undertaker.
That was one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. I like just doing the research for this. I like just doing the deep dive and figuring out everything The Undertaker's been a part of over the years, everything he's going to be a part of. It's cool to think about. There's non-wrestling games. I played through a Bobo's Big Adventure. I don't know if you gave it a whirl, but
I very happily watched you play that.
Okay, great.
Did not do it myself.
So there was two. I played through the actual version, and to get to the Undertaker's level it took a while. So I found a cracked version, also on the same website. So it's not it's not that bad. I found a cracked version, and it brings you right to the level. So before you even get to the Undertaker's level, like the NES like pro wrestling part of it, you have to do this whole like space level where you're zipping through space and there's these things getting thrown at you, and it just takes forever. And then you finally get there, and it's just like Blood City. It's a fake pro wrestling arena. You're against the Amazon. He's like biting your head and stuff. And then all of a sudden, The Undertaker, Hogan, I think Ultimate Warrior, they all just come down and they each do their finisher on the Amazon.
That was cool. I thought that was a kind of a neat thing where it almost felt like, we got to take out this person. Let's bring in people from all over time and space to hit their finishers.
So I thought that was cool. But in the future, I would like to cover more just single wrestlers and go through their video game history. I know Shawn Michaels was brought up. Bret Hart was brought up. I want to do Sting, obviously. I think the world is our oyster here. We could pick anyone, really, and do the deep dive into their video game career.
All right. But, hey, Johnny.
Hey, George.
Right now, as we are recording, GameBoree for the 50-50 raffle for Cohen's Children's Hospital has ended.
It has. So that means the final tally total was $250. Now that is split in half, so that is $125 each. And we're going to announce the winner right now. Are you ready? Okay, so I have everyone's name in a randomizer here. I'm going to press the button 3 times. Okay, stop. George? Hey, George. Okay, great. Now, I put everyone's name in the randomizer. I put, if you donated more than once, your name's in there more than once. I obviously took our names out because we don't want to win this. But yes. I'm going to press this randomizer 3 times, and the name on top on the 3rd time is going to be the winner. Ready?
Let's do it.
Now we can have the drum roll. 1, 2, three, and the winner is Brian Gallert.
Ooh-wee.
So we will be reaching out to you, Brian Gallert, and you will be receiving $125. So thank you for participating. Cohen's is getting $125. And as of right now, let's talk about the other side. Let's talk about St. Jude's, because that's still going on until January 1st. And right now we've unlocked Tier 6. So let's go through it. So far, every donor's name on our website. 2 VGF Gamers Pro Touch Analog Grips. 3, now that's 3 at the 200, the 300, and 400 level. GameMarks Pod prize packs, which are going to include this year's shirt, some grips, and an 8x10. And just unlocked was 2 VGF ProFlex controller grips. Now these things are beautiful. Now another $250 to go, and someone is going to win WWE Battlegrounds for their console of choice. So we have about a week and a half to go. But George, we're going to be doing something else to help GameBoree kind of move forward.
Oh, are we ever? So, last year, John and myself went live on our Twitch channel and we hosted Game Marks Mania. Well, another year, another GameBoree, another Game Marks Mania, where all of the profits that we are able to raise on a 5-6 hour stream, you know what, Johnny? We're going 6. We are going to do a live 6-hour stream on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/GameMarksPod, and all of the money from donations, subscriptions, bits, all of that money is going to go straight towards St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, and we will be playing everything. Anything you can name. We'll be playing Among Us. We'll be playing Warzone. We'll be playing some wrestling titles. We will play some Jackbox games to have some interaction with you guys. Like anything that we can play that you guys will want to come and watch, that will be starting the day after Christmas. That is December 26th. It is a Saturday.
Ooh, baby.
Put on your comfy sweatpants because you overate. Grab yourself a beer, a glass of wine, a little glass of whiskey. Come, sit down, hang out with us, hop in for some games, and that will be starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We're going through the night, guys. We're going through the night. And everything that gets donated also counts towards the tiers, so let's try to make me and George get tattoos.
Oh, baby.
But, guys, as we said, join our Discord server at GameMarksPod.com/Discord. And we've been having this problem on the podcast. We've been having some glitches, some issues. They leaked over into our Clash at the Feast videos. We've been interrogating some friends. I think we could clear some names already. Obviously us. We could clear us. Top Shelf Troy Nelson pled his case. It's not him. I feel super bad for Philip Cardigan. It's not him. But there was one person I thought maybe, after having a few conversations with them, they're a little bitter. They're a little, I don't know. They might have some animosity towards us. Maybe we took an idea from them in their mind. So here is Brian, the owner and operator of WCW Worldwide.
No.
Hey guys, this is Brian, aka WCW Worldwide, and I'm not too sure where to begin on this, but I've been aware of the problem you guys been having on the show lately. I'm a fan. I do listen to everything you guys put up on your podcast feed, so I was a little surprised whenever I got a message from Johnny straight up accusing me of being behind this glitch of yours. I don't know why you would think I would have anything to do with this. Just because I had the idea of doing a weekly podcast centered around wrestling video games first doesn't mean I'm jealous of your show. And just because I'm a fan of Fire Pro Wrestling, since the Super Fire Pro Wrestling X Premium doesn't make me a hater. And just because you both feature in Endeavored, WCW vs. NWO World Tour, one of the greatest wrestling video games of all time, and the only wrestling title to have been released under the prestigious Nintendo's Player Choice Gold banner, doesn't mean I'm angry at you two. I'm a fan. I'm not plotting against you in any way. See you boys around.
I feel okay. So here's where I'm at with these interrogations. It makes me feel really good to know that the people that we interact with the most and are on, on our radar in terms of like, we talk to them a lot, we interact with them a lot, that they're not involved in this, and they're hoping that we kind of are able to figure out what the hell's going on here. So I'm very, very glad that WCW Worldwide is not the hacker.
I agree. They're not the anonymous GM. But we still have to get to the bottom of this. I have a few more names on my list. So guys, keep looking out because I'm going to keep interrogating. But George, what do you say we head on over to some gaming news?
Now, Johnny, before we hop into the gaming news, I noticed that on this week's Clash and Burn, and I'm only cutting you off here on gaming news because I see the first thing that's on the list, and rather than talk about it, I feel rather than just have you read what's going on, I figured that we would just talk about it, have a little one-on-one. You can vent a little bit more to me. Talk to me about Cyberpunk. What's going on? What's your experience with it? And what's the CD Projekt Red like? What are they giving us to have a hope spot here?
All right, so the hope spot right now is they released a patch that came across the board last week. It focuses more on bugs and performance issues. There's various like quests that there were some problems with that they fixed as well. I never touched the game. I'm going to start by saying that I never played this game. I downloaded this game. I saw the negative reaction that my friends were having. Apparently, if you don't have a PS4 Pro, which I don't, then the game basically just doesn't want to run. I had a friend that had multiple blue screens of death while just walking around the city, just playing the game. And to me, that's not like a complete game. That's not something I want to play. So the game downloaded at midnight at launch because I pre-ordered it. I wasted a PlayStation Network gift card on it, which is, I think, the worst part. I reached out to PSN, their contact, because Cyberpunk put out, like Project Red put out, that they'll offer refunds for digital copies through your like PSN or Xbox. But it turns out they weren't on the same page, so everyone that did this through the PlayStation Network were just getting like a bunch of hoopla from the like support staff. So for me, they were like, it shows that you downloaded and streamed this game already. I'm like, well, yeah, obviously it downloaded. I pre-ordered it. Like at launch, you leave your console on, it just downloads itself. I don't even know what the menu screen looks like. Like, oh, sorry, well, we can't do anything to help you. So it turns out, it seems like that happened to a lot of people, and voices were heard because now they have their own like little landing page where all you have to do is click a button and sign into your PlayStation Network, and you could request a refund. Now, I did this. I so far haven't had anything come back. I'm assuming they're just largely overwhelmed by all of the requests.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. They might have like their own team like overseas, like just handling these requests or something. I don't know. And we'll see what happens. I'll keep everyone in the loop on that. But
I feel so bad for all of those people who purchased the game. So and almost to a detriment, because I feel like I always miss out on stuff, but like I have been burned so many times with games that I almost never pick up games at launch. There were a couple of exceptions. I picked up Last of Us the day it was released. I picked up Battlegrounds the day that it released, but I've been burned so many times in the past that usually I don't follow that. So it sucks.
But you would think 7 years. They take 7 years to make a game, and this is what comes out of it. I just
that's what I was gonna say. Like, it sucks to see that that's the state that, and that's a situation that you as a friend have to deal with, because you took money that you had, and this is also going and saying like you had a gift card, but other people, this is just they took money.
It was like half and half. They still took my money.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, whether it's a gift cards or money out of your paycheck or whatever, like, it sucks that you're not getting your money's worth. It's one thing if maybe you're not thrilled with the storyline, you weren't satisfied, but at least provide a working game. Right. But I've seen a lot of reports and a lot of complaints coming out from people that are saying, what would you have rather had? And hindsight's 2020, but there were so many people complaining about the delays that now that the game got released, so many people are like, well, why wouldn't you have just delayed it more if the game wasn't working? When then it was like, all right, well, then you'll complain about the delays. Like, I feel like it's such a double-edged sword here that there was really no way for CD Projekt Red to win. They just needed to make I feel like you could have softened the blow by releasing a finished game and be like, hey, perfection takes time.
Agreed. And it's even out of the PlayStation Store now. I saw a commercial the other day, and I was surprised they were even showing commercials for it. And then at the end, it just said Xbox. I was like, okay. I see what they're doing. But let's get into some more gaming news.
Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at vgfgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
A new promise from PlayStation boss Jim Ryan is great news for PS4 gamers and those who can't get their hands on the PlayStation 5. According to Ryan, the PS4 is going to have a tail that the PS3 didn't, and this is because Sony is committed to supporting the PS4 in years to come. Over time, more and more emphasis will be placed on the PS5 and PS5 development, but for right now, Ryan is pledging to support the millions still on PS4, which includes releasing more PS4 games. Also, soon, fans will have even more superstars to throw down in the ring with WWE 2K Battlegrounds as a mix of legend and current Raw and SmackDown superstars are headed to the game throughout the month of December. There will be 14 new superstars in total, as well as 3 arenas, and they will start hitting the game on Wednesday, December 23rd. The new additions include legends like Ric Flair, Sting, Diesel, Razor Ramon, Bret Hart, and more, while the current era is represented with stars like the Street Profits, Sami Zayn, Chad Gable, and more as well. And that's all the gaming news we have this week. Check back next week. Now, George, we're both a part of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast family. We're both a part of their Patreon group where we can answer some video game questions. Someone actually pointed out that Sting was a part of the roster and they weren't sure why. And to set the record clear, I believe 2K has their own contracts that are not associated with WWE. And in that case, you will get guys like Sting and maybe some other guys who aren't on the roster anymore, like Gallows and Anderson. They were there at launch. So that's why certain wrestlers are still in the game. This is not a WWE decision. This is a 2K contract.
Now, and speaking of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, you and I were guests last week on the Silver Linings vlog with everybody's favorite Silver Balls himself, Smart Mark Sterling. And we talked a little about everything. We talked about some Twitch things. We talked about our little bit of collecting. We talked about how you and I have been managing to put together the podcast during all this pandemic craziness. So please visit the YouTube channel for the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast to check out your humble hosts, Johnny Clash and George Feis, on the Silver Lining vlog with Smart Mark Sterling.
That's right. So if you're a Patreon subscriber, head on over to that link right now. But George,
is it time?
I think it's time. Is it time for the question of the week?
Oh, let's do it.
Game Marks, while you sit there, hopefully as uncomfortable as you possibly can be, I want you to listen to me. I want you to digest this because I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest. I don't hate you, Marks, but the Game Marks podcast have their own pro wrestling tee store. Brace yourself because the Game Marks podcast are now on Pro Wrestling Tees with original design to let everyone know if you will play it forever or a future endeavor. Head on over to ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod and get your tees today. Hey Nick Stapp, how you doing?
So the question of the week is a weekly segment where John and I go back and forth and ask each other questions. And then we like to propose the question to you, and you let us know your answer on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Last week, in honor of our Undertaker video game retrospect, we Johnny asked, what was your favorite Taker match? And everybody...
like the answer was unanimous here.
Oh, yeah. It's coming out in waves to say that WrestleMania 25, above and beyond, we had Will McDonough. We had the Elder Spork. We had David C. Anderson. Everybody. Absolutely. Nick Hudson. Just WrestleMania 25. WrestleMania 25. WrestleMania 25.
That's right. But Owen Anderson said WrestleMania 17, Undertaker versus Triple H. Now, I remember that one very vividly also. That's a very good one as well.
I'm also gonna throw a ringer in there. What about the Inferno match? The first Inferno match with Kane.
Technically, I'm not going to say it's one of the greatest, but one of the greatest moments for sure.
I was going to say, in terms of innovation of the match, I think it's cool, but the match itself is like, but like...
Kind of set a story straight for the next, 15 years of The Undertaker, though, so that's pretty cool.
I just thought,
Kane as well.
For the time, super cool.
Yeah. But, George, it's your turn to ask me a question.
All right. So, full disclosure, we had to edit a little bit of dead air out because I asked the question, had everything prepped, was super excited about it, and turns out that it's the same question that I asked this time last year. So, that's so George Feis. So, now, I want to ask you, and everyone listening, what is your favorite Christmas wrestling moment?
Ooh, okay. So I'm gonna go.
I got two that jump out at me, but I know there's a million of them.
I'm going back to last year, literally a year ago, when my personal close friend Bear Bronson won the 24/7 championship from Tozawa in the park as dressed as Santa Claus.
Okay, all right, that's a good one. I mean, I feel like the easy iconic one is Stone Cold stunning Santa Claus.
Yeah, of course.
And then I guess honorary runner-up is Old St. Mick. Is Mick Foley dressing up as Santa Claus? That's always good. Always had some good comical moments. I feel like, wasn't there a moment where it was like John Cena and Rusev had a match, and Rusev is dressed up as Santa or something like that?
It was like a holiday. They hit each other with... I think presents and stuff. You open the present.
Yeah, and I know that there's another match where there's presents all around the ring, and John Cena opens up the box and pulls out a steel chair. You know, I gotta say, when I think of the holidays, for some reason, moments on wrestling, moments on TV during wrestling, don't really come to mind. But I think there's a surprising amount of them.
Yeah, every year.
Way more than I thought.
Now, do you count, what was it called? New Year's Resolution? I get the TNA one. No, that was Final Resolution. New Year's Revolution? Was that the WWE one? Where Edge cashed in on John Cena?
Oh, that could be considered. Oh, wait, John. Cody Rhodes and The Big Show. With The Big Show dressed up as Santa.
I don't remember that one. That might have been when I wasn't really watching too much. It's
very interesting. Very, very interesting amount of Christmas things here.
Just a lot you could do around the holidays.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Tis the season.
'Tis the season.
But as usual, we throw it now to you guys, the game marks yourselves, to answer. What is your favorite wrestling Christmas moment? Now, George, you got that PlayStation turned on? Is it making its weird beepy noises?
Yeah, I'm past that wonderful splash noise, and it sounds like the fan's going to explode. So
great. Let's take our deep dive into WCW Nitro.
What's up, Game Marks Podcast? This is Danny Tancredi, and I'm here with my brother Johnny Tancredi, and together we are the Cult Looking Podcast. Each week we bring to you the latest news and reviews on all things baseball collectibles. From baseball cards and memorabilia to bobbleheads and stadium giveaways, each episode will discuss the newest products to hit the shelves of your local card store and your favorite ballparks around the country. Be sure to be following us on Instagram at The Cult Looking Podcast and on Twitter at CultLookingBB. New episodes drop every Friday, so be sure to tune in wherever great podcasts like this one are available. The Cult Looking Podcast. Don't get caught looking, start collecting.
All right, so WCW Nitro, released February of 1998 for the PlayStation 1, developed by Inland Productions, published by THQ, and Johnny's got a little asterisk here in the notes that we will not be covering the WCW Nitro for the PC or the N64. Johnny, do you want to tell everybody why?
That's right. I've shared my gripe here before. Same cover. They literally just took Thunder and they put it on the N64 and the PC with a limited roster. They repackaged it as Nitro. I don't know why they just didn't go with Thunder. I don't know. And it's a completely different game. Goldberg's in it. Goldberg's not in Nitro. You have the same characters as Thunder, but it's named Nitro, so I feel like here we're going to talk about just Nitro for the PlayStation, the first, the original. Now, this is only the second PS1 game by WCW, which came out after WCW versus the World. And did you know WCW only had 11 games total, and this was only number 7? So this is actually towards the end of their run.
We've covered 10 of 11, haven't we?
We're only missing Thunder, but I guess we could also wait for the N64 and PC port of this game.
Ah, yes, that is true. So
now,
technically, there are 3 more games.
Right. So this came out in February of 1998, and a few months later, Revenge came out in October of 1998. So you could see how a world of difference between 2 games on 2 different consoles by the same company.
Stark differences here between WCW Nitro and WCW NWO Revenge here. I mean, it is... I can't even tell you. It feels like Nitro is from a different generation from Revenge.
I asked you while we were playing it, like, how would you describe this game? Like, I don't even know. There's no grapple system. It doesn't feel like a wrestling game. I agree with you. It's got an arcadey type base to it, I'd say. Like, it's pretty much beat 'em up. Like, you drain the health, you win. But it's got some, like, button combos and... like, I don't know. Like, you could hit the Scorpion Death Drop. It's almost like
Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat with a wrestling game. It's like if they made 3D WrestleMania the arcade game.
Exactly. No one knows how to walk because everyone just shuffles. It's super weird. But
there
now
are no I don't think there's clotheslines or anything. It's weird. You run really fast. Like, everybody runs really fast. Rey Mysterio was giving me power bombs as Kevin Nash. Like, it's some weird stuff.
Now, Mike Seahack, I'm not really sure if I'm saying that correctly, president of Inland Productions, claimed during the development that we are the first to develop a seamless, closed-mesh, fully texture-mapped animation system. What this means is that there are no separations between the character's arms and legs. The entire body is covered with a seamless skin that is texture mapped with digitized images of the entire wrestler. The guys at Shiny Entertainment say that they invented this a few months ago, but we've had this technology for over a year, and now we have the game to prove it. So I guess in a way, this game was a stepping stone towards a new technology of how, like, a game looks. And it does... it does look better than some of the old, like, WCW versus the World, where, like he said, the arms and the legs aren't, like, attached to the body. I think that was always kind of an issue for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely feels like a step up, but, compared to the other WCW games, not compared to what else is out there at the time.
So if you brought, like, this in, like, the visuals of this game in with the playability of the other games that WCW put out, it would have been perfect.
Oh yeah, you would have had like this combined with Mayhem.
Even this, like this with Revenge's mechanics.
Yeah, but I'll even say, like, comparing it to like the next title, because the next title after this is Thunder, and then it's Mayhem, right?
Right.
So honestly, I'm going to say this right out of the gate.
Uh-oh.
If we need to have this game to get Mayhem, I will take this every single day and
absolutely.
twice on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, there's always like a stepping stone, but I mean, that's good. This is a good that they used their first, like, new technology to do this full texture mapped animation system on WCW Nitro, which is pretty cool. And we got a little insight on a little, I guess you could say some gamer developer heat.
Yeah. Now, in this game, you have a wide variety of match types to choose from. Am I right, John?
A wide variety,
Just huge. You have a singles match, which you can either do as a single player or 2-player. You have a tag match, which you can do as either single player or 2-player. You have your tournament mode, which is a series of matches in your typical tournament style. And that's it. And
That's it.
That's all you got.
You could win the championship in the tournament mode and just go on and do it with someone else.
That's the bread and butter. That's all you got. But I guess, we, in addition to those game modes, they're trying to think, like there's some redeeming qualities about this game. And for me, those little videos that played for the original 16 characters, those are pretty great. All right.
Let's get into that in a minute. We'll get into that with the roster, but I want to talk about how the game actually plays, because I feel like this was unlike something we've ever played before. Now, it took you a while to figure out how to do the moves. I kind of read through it.
Way too long.
But then you, I think, had a better grasp than I did, because there was something I didn't realize. If you press like triangle and square, it would do a power bomb. It was stuff like that. Or like back triangle would do like a hip toss. If you were facing the other way, you had to switch the direction you were going. So basically, any control was directed towards your back, if that makes any sense. So if I was pressing forward and trying to do these moves, they weren't working.
Yeah. Also, there's no like immunity frames is what they're commonly referred to now. Whereas like, I can't hit you during this animation because your character is not able to be hit. That does not exist in this game at all. You are on the floor. You are in the middle of getting up. I can power bomb you right from there. You are in the middle of throwing a punch. If I'm able to grab you and do a power bomb or a pile driver in the middle of you doing that, it's gonna do it, and I'm gonna get credit for the move.
That's right. And also, every wrestler has like 3 signature moves. 2 of them you're able to hit at any time, and then one's a special, and the other player has to have no health and has to be blinking red for them to hit. So, for example, Sting has the Scorpion Death Drop, which he could hit by pressing triangle, triangle, circle, I believe it was, anytime. So you could just hit that as a regular move. But he also had the Stinger Splash, which was in the corner, and that was another combination. But his finisher, you had to have the guy down. They had to be blinking red, and you press a combination to do the Scorpion Deathlock, and everyone had their signature move. So it could have been Kevin Nash's Power Bomb or like the Diamond Cutter, and some of them were a little harder to get into than others, like the Stinger Splash. It was very hard to whip you to the corner to actually do that. And by the time I would press that combination, you would be moved out of the corner anyway.
Oh yeah, it's you really gotta have like perfect muscle memory and really have a great grasp on the controls to be able to like execute all of your signature moves here. But there was something a little, I don't know the word. I mean, the animations for the moves weren't horrible. They weren't the best.
They were smooth.
There were
maybe
some
too smooth
aspects, some things that were clean. Jackknife Powerbomb, definitely clean. Scorpion Death Drop, clean. German Suplex, really clean. Really good looking. Big fan of that.
Harlem Sidekick looked nice.
Harlem Sidekick, also really, really nuts. Would have loved to see you do the Harlem Hangover. I'm not even sure if that's in the game.
No, that was not in there. That wasn't Booker's move. No, that would have been cool, though. Man.
Yeah.
See, Eddie had the frog splash, so that was possible.
Yeah. But, hey, this is a weird roster here. And in the spirit of giving, John, I believe I will take that weight away from you, and I will read the roster this week.
All right, but first, let's preface this by saying there is only 16 wrestlers when you start, and through tournament mode or cheat codes, you unlock more. So through the tournament mode, you will unlock the WCW wrestlers, but then there's this just insane amount
like an
of
NBA Jam style roster
of unlockables. Yeah, it's so stupid and out there, but yeah,
it's all right. So your roster for the original 16 playable characters with their little rant videos are as follows. You have Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Sting, Lex Luger, Alex Wright, Macho Man Randy Savage, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, The Giant, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Booker T, Stevie Ray, DDP, and Syxx. Nice. For the next set of WCW unlockable wrestlers, you have Eric Bischoff, Mean Gene Okerlund, Chris Jericho, Disco Inferno, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Miss Elizabeth, Sonny Ono, Ultimo Dragon, Steve Mongo McMichael, Rey Mysterio Jr., Jimmy Hart, Steven Regal, Jacqueline, Medusa, Kimberly, and Conan.
it's a good roster.
Now, this is where we start to get a little wonky, because now you have the Hulkster. You have Pee-wee the Ref. You have Stinger. You have Grayling, which is an alien. You have Tony Schiavone. You have original red and yellow Mega Powers looking Randy Savage. You have a snowman named Whitey. Buzz the Bee. Ivan the Bear. A T-Rex. Frankensteiner. Bones. Santa Claus, spelled C-L-A-W-S, Annie Mae, who is a little anime character, little clever wordplay there, Dweeble, the Clown, and Ecto, who is a ghost.
Oh, I just got the anime one.
Did you? Okay.
I get it now.
And now we start getting into, I guess, the developers being put into the game as playable characters. So you
Super
have
weird.
Virtual Andy, Cobra, Reanimator, Jwambo, John, Fush, Flyboy, Tony the Rod, Eddie the Wire, Don with two N's, Uncle Monkey, Dude Man, Mike, Steve, Brian, and Superfan.
All right, so here are my issues here. I think this is all presented really cool. Everyone's in front of the Nitro set. The FMVs put them into, which are called rants, which we said we would get to now. We'll talk about that right after this. Some of them, like the developers, they're just like in front of a whiteboard. It just looks really stupid. The Hulkster is Hulk Hogan, just the red and yellow version. But then Stinger, obviously I'm going to find a gripe with this. Stinger portrays Sting when he's like kind of in between Crow and Surfer, where he's got the red paint and like the brown hair slicked back. But in the game, he's Surfer Sting with the blonde hair.
I think it's just a matter of they picked a poor image, I guess, to use.
But that's just dumb.
I mean...
Wait, what'd they call the second Randy Savage?
Savage.
So clearly, I guess they just couldn't put people with the same name in the game because they had to find different...
They overwrite things.
Weird, very weird game. I like uniformity, and there was just some things that were just not uniform in this game. But George, talk us about when you press circle on the original 16 roster, it says rant.
Oh,
but you get these little FMVs where you could still see the green screen kind of around them. There's flames behind them.
I am going on record and saying that this is, without a shadow of a doubt, my favorite part of this entire game. This is something that I just loved as a kid. When I used to play this game, I remember very much renting it from Blockbuster as a youth, and this was the highlight of playing it. Yeah, like Johnny said, it's pretty much just the selected wrestler from the original 16 roster in front of a green screen, and they pretty much just cut a promo. Some of them are just you know, I'm Hulk Hogan. I'm, brother, and. But then there are some real gems. Personal favorite is Kevin Nash, who invites you to pick him, and then he slowly just gets down on himself and then fake cries. Just please pick me. Please. Just come on, pick. Come on. So a big fan of when the characters break the fourth wall there. Also, DDP is another one who breaks the fourth wall and just
Monkey
goes,
Boy.
Hey, you're going to pick anybody else? You got to, come on. There's only one option for you to pick. Like, I thought that was cool. I think some moments where they dropped the ball, I think it would have been great if they had Hulk Hogan also record a promo as Red and Yellow Hulk.
Yeah, then you have to like shave the beard and stuff.
I think Chris Jericho needed to have a promo. Granted, I know he's not the Chris Jericho that we know now, but
I mean, his Thunder one was entertaining though.
But I'm just saying, I just think that how do you not put a microphone in that man's hand and go, okay, go ahead, do your thing.
Yeah, all very cool options, but now let's talk about the actual gameplay, like the arenas and the crowds and all that, because we unlocked some silly arenas, and we were in like Texas for a bit because we accidentally had that on our settings before we
looped.
But then we randomized it, and these arenas actually look pretty good. The ring itself looks good, like the Nitro set looks like the Nitro set. The crowd is obviously very papery for 1998, 97, 98, but up top, very simple. You have two health bars. What interests me is in the middle of the health bar, it shows
I was just going to say that's
the
kind of
old
cool.
WCW championship belt.
Big gold.
Not even big gold. That's the old one.
That's the old one?
Yeah, that's not big gold.
Oh, yeah, that's the globe.
That's the globe.
Jeez.
So that's either something they just didn't put in development. Maybe they started this game when that was the belt and they didn't change it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. Some of the arenas, I mean, the crowd is one thing, but the ring didn't look horrible. Camera angles get a little wonky and flip around a lot, which is very disorienting, but the ring itself doesn't look bad. Texture-wise, the apron looks like an apron. The ring, the canvas and the ring looks like the canvas.
It's very small. The ring's very small.
Yeah, but there's no glaring textures that stand out to you as like, I don't know why there's this random scratch in the top right corner of the ring and it's going to drive John crazy for the entire episode.
WrestleMania 18. I can still picture it. But I think it all looks very good. I think what you were saying with the camera, if they always want you left and right, you can never really go like up and down. So that's why the camera kind of tilts with you. I think what you took advantage of the most is when you taunt, your health regenerates, and it regenerates very easy as quickly as it goes down. So these matches are quick. And something I wanted to talk about. The very beginning opening FNV of this game. The only Hulk Hogan shots really in here are Hulk Hogan in a white NWO shirt.
Yeah, that's so weird.
That's something I don't really remember much happening. Maybe this is early 97. They pieced together this FMV for. I don't remember when he wore that. If you do, please send it our way. I'd love to see it. Honestly, I'd love that shirt in general. But the NWO shirt is just so significant in wrestling, and you're going to mostly show Hulk Hogan in a white version of it, like an inverse version of it. I just thought that was super weird. It also shows guys that aren't in the game, like Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, I mean, now I guess by the time Thunder comes out, he's in WWE, right?
Yep.
He's
back in New York.
He doesn't really make an appearance in these later titles.
No. But let's talk about the artwork here.
Oh man. So I have to uncover this because it's buried. But I actually have, I believe with the PC version, they gave you a hologram that you could actually, and it flipped between, actually, crazy thing. I had to find a picture of this. I'm just realizing now, this thing flips back and forth between the PlayStation Nitro cover and the PC Nitro cover with Goldberg on it.
That's super weird. And like updated Sting.
Yeah, I'm just realizing that now, that's what's on that hologram, because I was like, it flips between someone, but it's two covers. It's this cover for this game, and then the cover for Nitro on the PlayStation.
I would assume that the PC version, I would assume that one's like a little more than the N64 version, which is just like super limited. So that's super weird, though, that they just repackaged Nitro as Thunder. They repackaged Thunder as Nitro and just threw it on two different platforms when they've just had Thunder. Like, why not just roll with Thunder? But regardless, we have the WCW Nitro logo where they just extended down the words Nitro and took out the TNT logo. Unlike the menu screen of this game where you still see the little circle where the TNT should be, they just removed it. We have the Nitro logo, we have Crow Sting, we have Paul White, the Giant, we have Hulk Hogan behind them. Now, Hulk Hogan just looks bigger than all of them. The Giant looks kind of small compared to him, but overall, this is WCW, baby. This is the cover.
I would say when I think of WCW, this is the group. Like, this is the people that come to mind.
Now let's go to the back.
This, on the other hand, is, I'm gonna say it's weird. To me, it's very weird. I'm not a big fan of just having them stare down. I feel like it's not a good camera angle. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I kind of like it. It is kind of weird. You have Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, DDP, and the Giant with 3 screenshots of the game. You have your NWO arena. Shows Ric Flair beating up Hulk Hogan. It says, "Too much for you?" I read that in like Scott Hall's voice, like, "Hey, too much for you?"
Hey.
Step into the
Chico.
ring as one of your favorite WCW or NWO superstars. Insane 1 or 2 player tag team action plus tournament. And wait, it says exposition modes. Not exhibition. It says exposition.
Exposition.
Hang on. Did we just find an error back here? Is this known?
Wait a minute. Is this another edition of That's So WCW?
George, this is everywhere. It says exposition. Now, for those thinking that maybe that's another word for exhibition,
no.
It means a comprehensive description and explanation of an idea or theory. So that's an error on WCW, or I should say THQ's part. Regardless, featuring Hollywood Hogan, Ric Flair, Sting, Lex Luger, they read the roster. Watch out for run-in match disruptions, plus hidden characters including managers and valets. Each wrestler has a dozen of devastating moves, including unique special moves. Now that's something we didn't talk about, the run-in feature. I thought it was pressing select would cause a run-in to happen, and I was trying to hit you with it the whole time, and it just never happened. Also, the other members of the roster, like the unlockable roster, they're just copied and pasted from another wrestler. So like the Snowman had like Lex Luger, the Ghost I think was Hulk Hogan. So they don't have their own movesets. If you want to figure out their moves, you literally have to figure out the moves from the other wrestlers.
Yeah, so the way that I found out that it worked best was if you had if you used the taunt. That gave you a pretty good idea of who you were playing. So I do believe Ecto the Ghost is actually Kevin Nash.
That's right. But this game, this brings you back to cheat codes.
We don't say it enough on this podcast, and we already do, but it's never enough. Cheat codes need to come back. I miss a good old cheat code.
Like the good old GTA, like L or XA, like those were awesome. Now I don't know. It was just cool. Like Tony Hawk, especially like
R1, R2,
low gravity
L1,
mode
L2.
where you just do 50 kickflips in the air
I'm
before hitting the
sure
ground.
I still remember one of the GTA San Andreas codes. It's like R1, R2, L1, L2, square, triangle, circle, X, square, X, and that gave you like infinite money or something.
Jesus. Well, remember Rosebud in The Sims?
Yep, Rosebud. I remember all the original Doom cheat codes like IDKFA or IDDQD. It was like infinite ammo and God mode. Yeah, like,
Now let's go into these. The code for all 64 wrestlers is R1, 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 L1, 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 R2, 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 L2, 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 select. So as simple as that. But I guess back then, unless you had a computer or someone who just knew those codes, it was very hard to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, the codes aren't even that challenging to get all the wrestlers. It's R1 4 times, L1 4 times, R2 4 times, L2 4 times, select.
You could have a code for all of the wrestling rings. There's big head, hands, and feet. There's swelling head mode. We should have done these. Your head was definitely swelling while playing this game.
Wow. All right. Calm down there.
But
Atomic
George,
drop.
But George, did you know? Did you know the game was ready for release by the end of 1997, but publisher THQ delayed it until 1998 because their game WCW vs. the World was still selling well and they did not want to create their own competition?
Did you know this game is used on eBay in the $5 to $7 range, and a sealed greatest hit version is at $90, with a 9.8 graded version listed for $2,500.
Did you know the sequel to Nitro, WCW NWO Thunder, was released for the PlayStation in January of 1999?
All right, John, did you know? But I gotta tell you, we had a little bit of a live stream. We did a lot of matches today. I'm feeling a little stressed out, man. I could really use some R&R. You want to take us through some ratings and reviews?
All right. Next Generation gives this game a 3 out of 5 stars. GameSpot gives this game a 6.9 out of 10. IGN with a 4.5 out of 10. And Next Generation reviewed the PlayStation version of the game, rating it 3 out of 5 stars, and stated, ultimately, WCW Nitro, not unlike actual wrestling, delivers fun, if not terribly sophisticated, entertainment. I agree. And the initial WCW Nitro for PlayStation sold enough copies to merit a re-release under the Greatest Hits banner.
Ooh-wee.
Now that's a little shocking, but at the same time, it is the first WCW game of like the newer generation of WCW wrestlers, so I understand how it sold that well.
Yeah, and I was going to actually say that the fact that they were able to I wonder how much of the sales for Nitro on PlayStation had to do with them reusing the name when they rebranded it as Thunder, released on N64.
I'd love to figure that out.
But all right, so I'm going to say right now, right here, live on the podcast, in the future, we are going to do an episode of Nitro for the PC and the N64. One episode just talking about the differences between this and the N64 versions and Thunder. Maybe that's the episode that we do after we play Thunder.
Yeah, I'm in.
All right. Well, I'm very excited about that now. We talked about everyone else's ratings, Johnny boy. I think it's time that we offer up our ratings, because it is time to rate the game.
The game!
Johnny Clash.
That's me.
WCW Nitro for the PlayStation 1. Will you play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
Okay, so we just played this game for quite a bit of time. We played it on stream with our friends over at Space Zamboni, and this is the first time I've touched this game since probably like 98, 99. And did we have fun playing? Yes. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Will I play this game forever? No. I'm going to future endeavor this game.
You're fired!
Now, the reason I future endeavor it is I know what comes next with Thunder, and I appreciate that a little bit more. I still don't know if I'll even play that one forever, but it's got a bigger roster. It's got the bigger where you could select your allegiance to either the NWO, Wolfpack, Ravens Flock, WCW, heel or face, and the crowd like adjusts to what you are, your costume adjusts. I think that was just way cooler, and this game is just So, yep, future endeavor. What about you?
I'm sorry, it's just what? It's just
That's so WCW.
That's I was not expecting an from you, Johnny. I just always assume that any game that has Sting in it is just immediately 10 stars across the board.
All right. 2K20's not, so.
All right, yeah, that's true. All right. I got to be honest with you. I kind of had some nostalgia goggles going into this game. I for some reason had very fond memories, although them being very challenging of playing this game as a kid, especially when I had it for the PC. I definitely remember it being even more challenging. I am going to do something very, unprecedented. I am going to future endeavor the game, but I'm going to play forever all of the rant videos.
You're fired!
You're so weird when you do things like that.
It's just those rant videos are so good. They're so fun. But the game itself is just doesn't hold up. That being said, I have no experience with Thunder, so kind of excited to go and hop in and play that too.
All right, keep it fresh.
But Johnny, we kind of did something a little different here for Clash at the Feast during our live stream for Thanksmas with Space Zamboni. We did a live Clash at the Feast. We did our best of 3 series. The first match, you were Lex Luger and I was DDP, and you atomic dropped yourself all the way to a victory in the first match.
Yeah, once I figured out that you could do all those moves without having like a special, like you could just do the signatures, it was great.
Oh yeah, and some of those signatures hit hard. Like you can, it's weird because you could throw a power bomb out of nowhere or a pile driver out of nowhere, but the atomic drop does like 2 times the amount of damage of that because it's Lex's signature move.
Exactly, it's great.
Second match, we did a tag match, and it was the Outsiders versus Harlem Heat, and our viewers in the Discord chat helped set up that match. Shout out to Will Is Ballin'. I snuck away with the victory because, just did not let Johnny get that tag out. That was my whole strategy there. And then the final match. I'm sure this is going to be a big surprise to everybody. Johnny Clash played as Sting, and I was Kevin Nash. And right out of the gate, I am pretty sure the first move you hit on me was the Scorpion Death Drop.
All right, let's take everyone.
Not
witnessed
punch,
this.
Not a
everyone
kick,
witnessed
the
this
first
game.
move.
They said heel George return because you know what George did? George played it cheap. George kept going. I had his health all the way down to red within the first minute. He kept going outside the ring, doing his little taunt, coming back in, outside, doing his taunt, coming back in, outside, doing his taunt, coming back in. You know, he's like that little gnat that just keeps flying around your face. And then, like, eventually he caught me outside trying to heal up. And I got count out lost. Well, he was still out there with me, but each character has their own count out counter, which is so stupid.
Which is very strange. And another thing that probably chalks up there with a That's So WCW move. But yeah.
George, you're so WCW.
So those are fighting words, my friend. Which means your winner for this week in WCW Nitro is your reigning, defending, undisputed Clash at the Feast champion, the man of 1,001 nicknames, the Stormtrooper, George Feis.
You say it like this, but like you're the only one cheering you on. So play his music.
That was deep cut. That was
Good.
That may have been a little too far, John.
Good.
I don't know
so
if I can go on. I think you may need to tell everybody what we're playing next week.
All right. So next week the pod. Next week on the pod, we will be playing for the Super Famicom, Super Wrestle Angels.
I just got to chill up my spine because I know what's coming.
No, now this game is not what you think. It's not as bad as what you think. Everyone look it up, get familiar for next week because we're diving.
All right. Well, if you're telling me that it's not so bad, I'm going to, for some odd reason this week, take your word for it, and I will remain pleasantly optimistic for next week's game. But for WCW Nitro, that is it. We have put the bow on it. We have said all there is to say. So,
take us home.
That is going to do it for us this week on the Game Marks Podcast. Please check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store at prowrestlingtees.com/GameMarksPod. It is the best way besides listening to support the podcast, and be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to wherever great podcasts can be found. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. Wash your hands, wear your mask, social distance, be super, extra, triple, double, quadruple safe for the holidays. Do not forget the day after Christmas, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/GameMarksPod. Johnny Clash, I'm coming for you. Say goodbye, Johnny.
Hey, Monkey Boy. Game over. Marks. Pick me. No, pick me. Pick me.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast, how can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.